You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now. Welcome to episode 5 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frett, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. It's finally here. There's sports action across all sports here in Northeast Indiana, and now we are having a regular fall sports season. And starting this week, regular season volleyball matches will be a regular occurrence. Soccer matches will be a regular occurrence. Tennis matches will be a regular occurrence, although we don't cover tennis that much at ANEC Sports. Cross country just got underway Saturday. We've had girls golf the past couple weeks, and football completed their scrimmages. And so, without further ado, let's start with the talk around the corner. And first off, let's begin with cross country. And Norwell girls cross country went into their own invitational, and they won the whole thing by scoring 70 points. And the Norwell Lady Knights win their own invitational just this past Saturday. And you checked out on the ANEC Sports YouTube page, one of their runners was named the third star of the week for the sport. She's also not nominated for Performer of the Week, which you can find on the ANEC Sports website, as well as on our social media accounts on Facebook and X. Some girls golf news, just briefly mentioning some things here. DeKalb and Norwell continue their starts in conference play. Leo with a couple nice wins, defeating Huntington North and upsetting East Snowball. Kind of a nice way there. In the Concordia Invitational, Paige Williams was fourth, I believe, in the Invitational with 74 points. Lily Oburn of East Snowball not too far off from Paige Williams. Letza Bremer of Leo had a nice week as well for the Leo Lady Lions, and we have Savannah Zimmerman nominated as a finalist for Performer of the Week for girls golf as Norwell continues their start in the Northeast 8. Let's recap over the things we've seen last week in other sports. Let's start with boys soccer, aka football for our international folks. West Snowball defeated Blackhawk Christian yesterday 4-1 thanks to 2 goals from Eddie Macias. West Snowball is ranked in Class 2A, and they're off to a nice start to begin their season. And then defending 1A state champions Bethany Christian, they lost to Mishawaka Marion on that same day, 3-1. So here are some upcoming notable games that you should have on your calendar right now. Tomorrow, Angola is starting their boys soccer season tomorrow, and they host Woodland tomorrow. This will be the first official game under Ryan Stelhorn. Ryan Stelhorn was the middle school athletic director prior to taking the boys soccer head coaching position. Now this is his first season with the Angola boys soccer team as they hope to remain competitive in the NECC. Another interesting game coming out of the NE8, Wayne at Norwell. Norwell has a couple big positions to fill, including their in goal. Norwell could be an interesting team to watch over the course of the season. They do have some returning players back, including their leading scorer from the previous season. So they still got some talent back. And then on Tuesday, Garrett at East Snowball, old-time rivalry in the area. First game under Terry Etzford, who's the new head coach at Garrett after a near 2-decade stint under Coach Kloffenstein. Now this is Terry Etzford leading the Garrett program. Carroll at West Snowball. This is another interesting matchup between the Battle of the Chargers last season. Carroll won this matchup in Huntertown 1-0. Now it's heading over to Ligonier this season. Carroll, so far this season, has a draw to which they tied Warsaw 1-1. And then Northrop, the 3-time defending SAC champions, they're heading to DeKalb to face a pretty competitive DeKalb Barons team. By the way, we will be talking with one of their DeKalb players later in the show. And then on Thursday, 2 very interesting matchups. Leo at Bishop Dwayner. That game always seems to have a lot of potential there. And then Bethany Christian continues their difficult non-conference schedule by going to Northwood to take on the Northwood Panthers. By the way, Bethany opens their conference play in the Hoosier Plains on Saturday when they host Lakeland Christian. Girls soccer. Over the weekend, Belmont and Central Noble dominate with shutout wins. Belmont defeated South Adams 7-0. Central Noble defeated Marion 5-0. And then Lakeland opens NECC play by emphatically dominating Garrett 11-0. That was Garrett's first girls soccer match since 2022. They did not play last season. Here are some upcoming notable games for this week. Tomorrow, Angola is going to Wayne to take on the Generals. This will be their first game under Hugh Robertson. Coach Towers was the coach previously, and he stepped down from that position after last season. Now this is Robertson taking over the girls soccer program. There's a girl on the team by the name of Isabella Robertson who's still on this girls soccer team. I believe she's in her junior season. Jay County at Richmond. Jay County is a contender in the ACAC. Richmond, so far this season, played a match earlier, and they were smoked by Franklin Central 9-0. Richmond looking to avenge that embarrassing loss to open their season. Manchester is heading to Columbia City. They're taking on the Columbia City Eagles, who returned a lot back from last season, including Addison Baxter and Tora Holler, who are on the girls' soccer team. I believe Anissa Taco might also be on that team as well, but this is a veteran Columbia City team hoping to stay in the contention for the NEA championship. And then you got probably the game of the night in the area, Leo at Homestead. Leo went to the state finals the previous 2 seasons in Class 2A. They moved up to 3A just for this season, just recently for this season and next season. And Leo is at Homestead. And then on Tuesday, while the Cowboys are at home, the DeKalb girls are going to Northrop. Northrop, like the boys, the Northrop girls, once again, SAC contenders. I believe they won the SAC last year. Anyway, this should be a pretty interesting game over at Spooler Stadium. And the Air plays their first home girls soccer match since 2022 when they host Northside. And then Westview hosts Plymouth. We talked to 2 seniors on that girls soccer team, Morgan Resecker and Kelsey Ward. And this looks like a team that should be in the running for the NECC and a running for a deep run in Class 1A. And then on Wednesday, Leo is at Carroll, another exciting matchup in the Fort Wayne area. And then Homestead at Belmont. Homestead tied Penn earlier this season. And last season, Homestead defeated Belmont by a single goal. So expect this one to be tight. On Thursday, Central Noble is heading up to Goshen, and they're taking on Bethany Christian. Bethany got hammered by Bremen earlier this season, 10-0 on Saturday. Lakeland is at East Noble. That is another very interesting matchup between Lakeland and Coach Retro's East Noble Knights. East Noble returns a lot back on that team, and they got a nice goalkeeper by the name of Addison Ritchie. Heritage is at Jay County to open ACAC play, and this is probably for the conference championship for all intents and purposes. There's only 4 teams in that conference, and Heritage won the conference last season. Should be an interesting matchup there. And then Westview is at Jimtown. And then Saturday, Central Noble at Bremen. Finally, we get to volleyball. Over the weekend, Saturday, Angola swept Columbia City in straight sets. Maya Harris with 11 kills, 2 aces, 2 blocks, and 5 dids. Her sister, Ava Harris, recorded 2 aces, 2 blocks, 10 dids, and 19 assists. Maya is a Illinois commit and a junior. Ava, the senior on the Angola team, she is a Villanova commit. And then notably, another senior in Anna McClure had 2 aces and 11 dids. Pretty much a nice team win to begin the season for Angola. Fremont goes 2-0 in the Lakewood Park Invitational, to which also included Elkhart Christian in that invite. Fremont swept both of those matchups. Addie Park on the combined had 11 kills, 3 aces, 10 dids. Delaney Bach combined had 8 dids, but she had 3 aces against Lakewood Park. Millennia Miller combined with 11 kills, 6 aces, 1 block, and 3 dids. And then Claire Folk combined with 5 kills, 4 aces, 7 dids, 1 block, and 23 assists. West Noble brought a lot of nice first impressions over the weekend, and they swept East Noble in 3 close sets. Elise Mead had 19 kills, 4 aces, 2 blocks, and 9 dids. She's only a freshman. Another freshman, Ella Limerick, hopefully Hopefully that's the right pronunciation. She had 32 assists in her high school debut. Not bad. Darcy Ritchie, a sophomore, had 16 digs. And then another sophomore by the name of Izzy Beers had 9 kills and 14 digs. Very nice win for the West Noble Chargers, which they won in Kendallville. And then Fairfield swept Eastside to open NECC play. Some upcoming notable matchups on Monday. Blackford is at South Adams. South Adams, a contender in the ACAC. They are a team to keep an eye on this season for conference contention. West Noble and Goshen. Now, this was not a matchup I expected to be on here, but I think after what West Noble did yesterday against East Noble, I think Goshen has to be careful overlooking the West Noble Chargers. I think West Noble is definitely going to hang around this year. Central Noble is at Jimtown. That's usually an interesting matchup to open the season. Tuesday, Dwayner at Belmont. Very, very interesting matchup over in the TP. Eastbrook at Southern Wells. That one could be a competitive matchup over in the Raider Dome. Fairfield is at Fremont. Fremont opens conference play. Fremont definitely has a tough road to start conference play, I should say, and Fremont definitely will have to hope to continue their unbeaten start against a pretty decent Fairfield team. Garrett is at Prairie Heights. Another interesting matchup. This game is usually very competitive. It's at Prairie Heights, so you expect a very good atmosphere, a very intimate atmosphere, no less. And Garrett has a couple holes to fill this year, but they do have some pieces back. Prairie Heights returns quite a few pieces as well. This could be an exciting matchup. Adams Central, an ACAC contender, certainly for the Jets. They're at Churubusco. Busco lost quite a bit from last season. They're going to be relying heavily on their senior class, including Gabby Orth, Grace Lawson, and Bridget Timbrook. No Ella Boersma, no Arissa George. They're going to need to step up this season. And then Huntington North is at Bluffton. The Vikings went 1-2 in the Peru Invitational, which their lone win was against LaVille. They lost to Hamilton Heights and Frankfurt. This could be an interesting matchup, although I think the Vikings will still be favored. Don't rule out the Bluffton Tigers. Bluffton has athletes, they're experienced, and they have a knack of coming up with some big wins. On Wednesday, Angola is at Bishop Dwayner. That is the ANEC's volleyball match of the week. Dwayner lost some big names from last season and also went 1-1 in their invitational in a tournament over the weekend. They swept LaPorte, but were swept by Penn. Dwayner does have Jillian Tipman, Nicolette Watercutter, and Maddie Soderette back in the middle. All three play in the middle. And then Lindsay Snyder is a returning offensive contributor as an outside hitter. Dwayner is younger, but they're still pretty talented. And Dwayner always has height and athleticism. So this is definitely going to be a tough matchup for Angola. No matter what the stats tell you, Dwayner will be a difficult matchup for the Hornets. On Thursday, Busco is at Garrett. That is a tough first 2 games for Churubusco. You got to play Adams Central, who returns almost everybody, and then you got to go to Garrett. Yeesh. And then Columbia City's at Whitco. Columbia City got, let's just say, schooled by Angola. I mean, Angola is a very talented team. No shame there. Columbia City will look to redeem themselves against Whitco. Whitco returns a few pieces as well. This should be a very interesting matchup in this Whitley County rivalry. Leo at Homestead. Leo is a nice team coming into the season, including a girl by the name of Emerson Wee, who's the returning offensive juggernaut on that Leo team. They're going to be playing against a pretty solid Homestead team in non-conference action. Norwell is at Heritage on Thursday. Last season, Norwell shocked everybody last season by upsetting Heritage in 5 sets. That was seen as like, no way this was going to happen, but Norwell shocked the world last season against Heritage. Heritage looks to bounce back after going 11-18 the previous season. They return a lot. Heritage expects to compete this season. Norwell hopes to build off of last season. And that, folks, is the talk around the corner. Coming up, I will speak with 3 individuals. First, I will speak with Bailey Hartsough, the senior outside hitter out of the University of Western Carolina. She is a 2021 grad out of Lakeland High School. She's heading to her final year of collegiate volleyball, and I look forward to that interview with her. Afterwards, I will speak with the head football coach of the West Noble Chargers, Monte Mayhorter, as He and his team open their season on Friday when they host Central Noble in the Battle for the Bell. And lastly, I will speak with a senior on the DeKalb boys soccer team, Imanol Hernandez, as the Barons open their season with expectations of competing for a Northeast 8 championship. And so, without further ado, here are the interviews. I'm here with the senior outside hitter out of Western Carolina University and also a graduate of Lakeland High School, Bailey Hartsough. Bailey, good afternoon and welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. This should be a great show here. And let's start with your ties to Lakeland High School. You went to Lakeland in 2000 from 2017 to 2021. Built some successful years at Lakeland. One of the first ever girls golfers at Lakeland. You led the volleyball team to tremendous success, including a conference championship, their first outright since '99. And you led the girls basketball team to their first sectional since 1996 and the first regional championship. When you look back to your time at Lakeland, how much did those years at Lakeland shape you to becoming who you are today?
I mean, going to Lakeland and like having the ability to play all these sports definitely made me a better volleyball player, a better person, a better teammate, literally everything. I can't thank Lakeland enough. I can't thank my teammates enough, my teachers, my coaches. I had such a fun time there, and I miss golf sometimes. I miss basketball. Um, but those experiences and like being in that busy, hectic schedule really helped prepare me for college volleyball. So I'm really grateful for those.
Let's talk about your time at Western Carolina so far. Obviously, it's a different environment culturally speaking because you're in North Carolina, very much a football state compared here in Northeast Indiana, a little bit more of a basketball state in general. How has your experience in Western Carolina been up to this point?
It's been so fun. I'm in a very small, it's bigger than LaGrange, small mountain town. So definitely not the flat cornfields of Indiana. So that's really fun being in a new area, new atmosphere. Yeah, they do take football very seriously here. Luckily enough, we get to go to a couple football games, so that's really fun. But I love it here. The people here are amazing. Southern hospitality is really real down here. Faculty, my coaches, anyone you meet is always smiling and super nice. And it's been really fun. I've had a great 4 years. I'm sad it's coming to an end, unfortunately.
Mhm. Let's talk about the volleyball program. This is a program that's been, kind of going through the motion, going through a transition period, so to speak. But Coach Glover's been there for going into her 14th season, so she's got familiarity with the program there. How has the volleyball team welcomed you and your family into this volleyball program?
Yeah, amazing. Ever since I was getting recruited, they've been like super like involved in my family, I would say. The first time I met Coach Karen, um, she came up to me after my first club tournament, gave me a big hug, and was like, "You played so well." This was before I was even committed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sweet." And before I came on campus, she did Zoom calls with all of our parents, all of our families. And so they're like really involved in our family. My parents and aunts and uncles and cousins come to like every game every other weekend. So she's always chatting it up with them. Everyone's super nice. A lot of like our AD knows our parents. So that's really awesome. And our coaches are really good at like getting to know you as a person as well. So a lot of times we have like volleyball meetings weekly, but it's more of like she's just checking in, see how you're doing. She'll talk to you about whatever. If you're going through a breakup, she'll talk to you about if you're struggling in classes. Like I think everyone's told them a lot of parts of their personal life, and she's very invested in like how we're feeling and like how things are going. So that's awesome.
Talk about some things this team has. It's a little bit of a younger team this year. You do have some experience back when yourself and Allie Morris and a few others I haven't mentioned, but talk about what the characteristics of this team are.
Yeah. So we were here all July without coaching NCAA rules. So we were here just as a team on our own. And we have 5 freshmen and 1 transfer. And everyone's been clicking really well. We all hang out outside of practice, which is a great atmosphere to have. We're not tired of each other yet. But yeah, everyone's meshing really well. A lot of our personalities are very similar. So we have a lot of inside jokes, a lot of goofing off, probably too many times. But so far, things are looking good. No drama. It's really awesome so far.
Mhm. You look at your conference, the SoCon conference. It's a pretty good volleyball conference in a mid-major conference and located in the North Carolina, the South Carolinas, parts of Tennessee. Your team's projected eighth in the preseason polls, which I guess it's to be expected. You have the Citadels, you have the Sanfords, and the Mercers are usually up there in that conference in terms of competition. You look at how things stack up in that conference. What's so unique about the SoCon conference that for those in the Midwest don't really get to see?
Yeah, so our conference is very it depends on who's on that day. I think it was my freshman year. Citadel, I think, was ranked seventh going into the SoCon tournament, won it all, went to the NCAA, almost beat Georgia Tech, played really well against them. So it's really anyone's game any day. Last year, I don't think Citadel was supposed to be ranked that high, and they went like 26-0 until we beat them. Woohoo! But yeah, so it's really anyone's ball game any day. So it's really bummed that we were ranked eighth. It's kind of like that kind of sucks. But I'm not like super worried about it. Like I said, the conference is very even per se. So yeah, I'm excited. Kind of prove a point. Say we're not the bottom of the conference. So
A little bit like the Horizon League per se. You may get something different each and every night, regardless of the sport. I want to take you back to your family connections. You mentioned how big your family is. You got a lot of family connections up in Northeast Indiana. Your mom played basketball collegiately at Tri-State, which is now Trine University. Your sister is at Huntington University to play basketball. Your brother's a junior in high school at Lakeland. Your father's been involved in coaching in the past. How has been that family unison been over the years?
yeah, growing up, my parents were go, 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 sports, sports, sports. You're playing softball, you're going to play t-ball, you're going to play soccer growing up. We did everything and anything that we could. And some days it sucked. Some days it was, I would cry on the way to volleyball practice after I just had 2-hour basketball. My dad was coaching. And then he'd drive me to Fort Wayne to go to club practice. And I was like, I don't want to go today. I'm just exhausted. But what they did for me and what they've done for my siblings as well, really, I don't think I would be here if they didn't force me to do some of these things. I loved it, obviously, but there's times where it's like, oh, gosh, it's a rough day. It's hard. But since, my mom played college basketball, my dad played baseball and a little bit of basketball in college. So they know what it's like. And, I'm grateful that they got to experience that as well. And then they're just such a great support system. If we ever need anything, I mean, we've all been pretty successful in our sports, I would say, me, my sister, and brother. So their parenting was very amazing, I can say now. Maybe when I was a teenager, I probably wouldn't have agreed, but well
Yeah.
worth it.
Mhm. Talk about what it's like for you being a college athlete at Western Carolina and then having to try to follow on your siblings because it's got to be sometimes difficult to keep track of it.
Yeah, it's super hard. It's honestly really frustrating some days. Obviously, my mom or my dad, whoever, will send out Peyton or Kyle's schedule. I have it on my phone. I go to practice and I go out to dinner with my friends. I'm like, oh crap, Kyle's playing a game today. And a lot of times we'll go out to our Mexican restaurant here, go out to eat, and I'll have Peyton or Kyle's game on my phone, just sitting here while I'm eating dinner, just have it propped up. So I do the best I can trying to watch them, or I'll do homework and have them on the TV in the background. And some of my roommates have watched their games too. I'll come downstairs and say, I'm going to put on my sister's basketball game. Hope you don't mind. But it's hard not being able to be there in person. But I am glad. I usually get most of a winter break. It's about 3 or 4 weeks, and that's prime basketball time for the most part. So I get to watch them a lot. When I come home, it's literally, I think one year I complained because I got home. I drove 9 hours, went to East Side for my brother's basketball game. And the next day I went to Peyton's game. Then Kyle had another game. And then I had to watch little kid. I don't know. I was very basketball filled. And my cousin plays basketball at Prairie Heights. I think I went to a Prairie Heights game. But yeah, so it's hard not being there for them. Last year, I think, not last year, when Peyton was a senior, she got her 1,000 points. And my aunt had FaceTime me on the sideline. She got it right before halftime. And she took the phone over to Peyton before she went to the locker room, and Peyton was crying and I was about crying. It was sad that I wasn't there, but I still get to see a lot of those moments from a distance.
When you combine your time at Lakeland to where you're at right now in college, what are your do you have a moment that really stands out to you? I would say right away when I think about Lakeland, I would say probably the sectional championship really comes up to mind for me. But what memory stands out to you to this point?
For Lakeland. Yeah, I think basketball was probably the most like significant moment. And I don't know, just I played with those Lakeland girls probably since fifth grade. Maddie, Kyle, Sadie, Kendall, all of them, Kirsten. And it was just like a big moment for us. I don't know. It was really like I get chills thinking about it. I have like pictures on my Instagram whenever I see them, and I have a picture of me hugging my sister. So doing that and then being able to compete well in the regional championship against,
Up in Washington.
yes, them. They're an amazing team. They had always been great, and just us being able to like compete for most of the game was like really amazing. And also my time in Lakeland volleyball, being able to like start where we did. I think we were like 3-20 or something my first year, and my senior year being able to win regular conference, not the tournament, but whatever that's called.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Regular season championship. Yeah.
yes, being able to win that my senior year was really special too, considering where we started and how we ended my last year.
And considering how difficult that was going into the year because of the various circumstances beyond our control, I think it made that season even more rewarding. I would have imagined for you than everyone else.
Yeah, for basketball, I remember our sectional game against Northwood, or like that whole sectional was like the first time we could have fans like at our games for real. Like we could have our parents and maybe a couple students could like filter in and out. And so I remember the gym was packed and we're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We had a great student section. So that was a really fun moment for sure.
Yeah. How weird's going to be for you when your senior year is over and you're now moving into the new next phase of your life?
It's sad. It's sad. I mean, it's great. Obviously, everyone goes through it. You know, It's going to be a weird transition period. I would say my class of this year. We were really close with the seniors last year, and so like we kind of saw how it like affected them a little bit. I mean, like I've played sports since I was like 5. I don't know, and I'm done after this. This is it. So it is going to be really weird once that's over. I'm currently applying to PA school right now, so I have some interviews coming up. Hopefully, I get in there. Might take up some pickleball. I've been trying to learn that a little bit. Maybe that'll be my fun activity on the side. But it'll be weird. It'll be a weird adjustment. I think it will be hard for me at times. Like, what do I do with my life? I'm not practicing. I'm gonna have to go work out on my own. I have to do my own workout, not something that they've told me to do for 8 years. I've just been told this is what you do: squat, deadlift, bench press. I kind of have to, figure it out on my own. So it's sad, but I guess it's a bittersweet moment. I've had a lot of fun times in sports. So
Final question for me. You open your season in a neutral site tournament. Everybody, pretty much a lot of these volleyball programs, they play in these tournaments to start the season. Talk about that opening weekend for you, for your team.
yeah, it'll be awesome. So this week we actually play an exhibition game at home. So doesn't really count. But that'll give us an idea of kind of where we're at. We'll try different lineups, kind of just like feel the vibe, what we want to work with. And then, yeah, it gets serious. I believe we play at UNC Chapel Hill. So that will be really cool to be at. We've been to a lot of great places. And the preseason time is really just to like test your skills and like see what you're up against. So it'll be fun playing teams like North Carolina. Obviously, they're ACC, I think. So you're not expected to win, but like we've beat ACC teams in the past. So, it's kind of like really fun if you get a chance to beat those teams, but it's also really fun to just compete and just like see how well you get to play against those teams. So I'm really excited. These tournaments are always really fun and, just kind of get a feel before conference actually starts.
Mm-hmm. And it's a good way to get your team involved in something unfamiliar and garner some chemistry, whatnot. Especially got some freshmen on this team. This is a relatively different team, so it's definitely a good way to build some chemistry there as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because we've been practicing against each other for, 2 months, a month and a half. So it'll be nice to just like see some other competition and actually see how we are. Like I might think we're good, or I might think we're not playing well in practice, but we go against another team, we're amazing. So it just kind of gives you like a real feel of like how you are doing, and like you can make adjustments and figure out what you need to work on before conference starts.
All right, this is Bailey Hartsough, the senior outside hitter for Western Carolina and a graduate of Lakeland High School for all the Lakeland fans and maybe even Prairie Heights fans that recognize her and whatnot. And Bailey, thank you for taking time to talk on the show. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, thank you so much. This was really fun. Maybe be back sometime. And yeah, good luck with your schooling and everything else as well.
That's right. All right, Bailey, good luck to you and your team on the season as you open your 2024 season.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, if you're just seeing me talking right now and you're not seeing Monte Mayweather, unfortunately, Monte had some technical difficulties on his end, and I tried the best I can to help him out with getting things arranged with the stream, but unfortunately, he was unable to make it to the show. So, yeah, unfortunately, would love to have him on, but things do happen, and hopefully they don't happen often. But occasionally they do happen. I'll just go ahead and fill the spots from here as the West Noble Chargers take on the Central Noble Cougars. We talked about West Noble's success last year. This team went 10-1 overall. They were undefeated in the Big School Division, 4-0, including that overtime win over the Lakeland Lakers. I believe it was like 35-27 or 35-28 against the Lakeland Lakers to win the division championship. And unfortunately for West Noble, that one loss came in sectional play. They lost to Knott's on the road 15-13. And Knott's would go on to go to semi-state in Class 3A. Good news for West Noble is they don't have to worry about Knott's anymore, as Knott's is in a different sectional this year. And the good news for West Noble is they returned most of their team back, except for a couple big pieces. No Drew Yates this time around. He graduated after last season. A tremendous career at quarterback for the West Noble Chargers, including a great run in the postseason for Drew Yates. Braden Barf, who was one of his top targets last year at West Noble, he also graduated. He had a nice career for both basketball and football for the big Mr. Barf. They still bring back Seth Pruitt, and when you look at Seth Pruitt as a player, and probably one of the most talented and kind-hearted human beings you will ever see or ever be around. One of the just a great football family in general. He's got 3,044 rushing yards heading into his final year at West Noble. He ran for 1,454 yards and on 218 carries, 25 touchdowns, and I can tell you, Monte would have nothing but great things to say about Seth because there's just not very many players that come around like Seth Pruitt, much to the same of what Brandon Pruitt was for the West Noble Chargers. You look at Brandon's number. Brandon is currently at 4,299 career rushing yards. That is the school record for rushing yards at West Noble, as well as 44 career touchdowns. I think Seth's more than likely going to surpass that number if he has a healthy season for the West Noble Chargers. When you look at the quarterback position, obviously there's a question mark in that position on paper, although based on the depth chart of West Noble and whatnot, it sounds like it's going to be Trey Schisler at quarterback for the West Noble Chargers. In case you wonder, yeah, it's the same Trey Schisler that did start last season at Central Noble and then later transferred to West Noble during the season. So now he will be it sounds like he's going to be the quarterback for the West Noble Chargers. I don't think that's a huge deal. Trey's got enough talent to play in that position for the Chargers. Got Noah Esch up front as a tackle and guard. That's a nice athlete right there for the Chargers. You have the other Yateses on the team. Xavier Yates, who plays strong safety and slot back. He's a guy that's going to be an instant game changer, especially on the secondary for the West Noble Chargers. Jordan Esch, that's starting tight end and defensive end. Big boy, 6'3", 185 pounds. Definitely a really athletic young man, and he will be an impact player for sure for the Chargers. Jalen Schaefer's had some good moments at wide receiver and free safety. Got Trevor Steele, who could play quarterback as well, but he's also a corner, and he's a guy that's going to be a primary focus on the defensive side of the football. You have Ethan Yates, the younger Yates. Xavier is a junior. Ethan is a sophomore. Ethan plays running back and middle linebacker. And at one point last year, we saw all three Yates kids playing and starting on the same team. And so now you're going to have Xavier and Ethan taking over and continuing to fulfill what this team has been the last several years. And it's becoming a really good football team and a tough team to play against. Got Lucas Conway. He's a solid plug-in guy, a wide receiver and corner. Payne Franklin's another nice, strong young man, 5'11", 185 pounds. Good strong safety, good linebacker on that Chargers team. You look at it, somebody like Tegan Klaus, another guy with talent. Mikhail Bottles. Now that guy is an athlete. You want to talk about athletes at West Snowball? Mikhail Bottles is an athlete. 6'3", outside linebacker and slot back. He can pretty much go put in any position possible. And Mikhail Bottles is going to get that job done. Caleb Saggers, another nice young player as a sophomore. So when you look at this West Snowball team, I don't want to take too much time here on this, but West Snowball really has a nice team. And I know everybody's talking about, well, no Drew Yates, right? But this team is set up to succeed this season. And remember, this team has never won a sectional before. So, there's definitely going to be motivation that plays a role for the Chargers. Central Noble last season struggled to start the year. Remember, for the Central Noble Cougars, they were transitioning into a new season and a new coach in Zach Baber. And obviously, those growing pains were real early on. They struggled badly on both ends of the field. In fact, last season against this West Noble team, they lost 47-7 to the West Noble Chargers. One of the worst losses in the history of this rivalry. And really was just kind of the thing we realized that, hey, maybe Central Noble is going to have some trouble early on before they actually get things rolling towards the end of the season. The only bad thing now for Central Noble is you got a lot of weapons to replace at CN. No Tyson Deck, no Ethan Skinner, no Drew Pleat at the wide receiver positions. So you got brand new weapons to throw the ball to. It may not be a bad thing for Central Noble, but it also leads into the question of where that offense is going to come from. We know Brody Morgan's back as a senior quarterback, and he's already the all-time leader in career passing yards for the Central Noble Cougars. But this team primarily has been throwing the ball the last couple years, which you told me 10 years ago Central Noble is going to throw the ball more than run the ball. I would have said you're crazy. But this is a different era of this program right now. And when you look at this rivalry, this dates all the way back to 1974 when these two schools began playing each other in football. Remember, Central Noble didn't have a football team until 1973. Battle for the Bell started in 2014, and West Noble won that very first matchup 45-14. The thing that's so interesting about the Bell is there are some historical references to the Victory Bell, and it goes back to the State Corner Conference. And when the State Corner Conference was established in 1935, there were two trophies that were awarded for the JV teams and the varsity teams. The varsity teams claimed the Victory Bell if you were in first place in that conference. And if you took the lead in the conference or you beat the first place team, the bell would actually go to the team that's ahead of them in the standings. So whoever was in first place that day, they would get the Victory Bell for that day. And if you win the conference championship, obviously you keep the bell. The other one is the milk can. And obviously Lakeland, Prairie Heights, they play in the battle for the milk can. That was the reserve trophy. So if you was in first place in the reserve conference race, you got the milk can. And so that's one of the interesting notes about the history of the bell and the milk can is that this was used at one point as a conference championship at one point or another. And obviously, when you know about the State Corner Conference, a lot of these schools were located in areas that are now part of the Northeast Corner Conference today. So one of the more interesting notes about the series. But anyway, when you look at the series between West Noble and Central, West Noble has mostly dominated the series over the last, 16 years. I mean, I can count back in my head. I mean, Central has probably only beaten them, what would it be, about 4 times since 2008. They've only beaten them 4 times. So it tells you that the rivalry has been one-sided of late between the Central Noble Cougars and the West Noble Chargers. Obviously, some holes to fill in terms of the wideouts position. You're putting in some younger guys on that roster as well. And you got a guy like Connor Fish, who's one that could be an interesting player for the Central Noble Cougars. You got Damian Duncan back for his junior season. He was playing quite a bit on smaller roles for the Central Noble Cougars. He's a guy that will definitely be on the radar for Central Noble fans. You have someone like, just looking off the top of the list here, Jacob Chenoweth is probably the next big name at Central Noble. And Chenoweth plays middle linebacker and guard. He might be the one name that could actually be the X factor for Central Noble as a senior. If Jacob can be that big time impact up front, maybe Central Noble can find some success there. You also got Sam Hoover plays guard and middle linebacker as well. You got Braxton Piper playing tackle, defensive tackle. You have a variety of different names here for the Central Noble Cougars. It's going to be a younger team. There's no way around it. And I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have right now for the Central Noble Cougars on how they can, number one, stop this pistol offense that West Noble is very good at. How can you stop Seth Pruitt, right? Number two, can you contain Seth Pruitt enough to force whoever's at quarterback at West Noble? We assume it's Schisler, but it could be anybody. But who knows who they're really going to put in there? How are you going to challenge the West Noble Chargers in a position where they're not able to have a rhythm offensively? And West Noble is a team, they want to score often. They want to have quick possessions. They want to run down, they want to march down the field, and they want to score as often as possible. That's what West Noble wants to do. And they put a lot of their offense on their line, and they usually have a big line up front at West Noble these days. And Seth Pruitt's one of the best running backs to ever come out of the NECC. Very likely the best running back in West Noble history. And it's hard to say that because Brandon is just such a talented running back in his own right. But Central Noble, I just don't know how you're going to be able, number one, stop that run. It hurt them last year. It hurt them when it came to being able to be disciplined enough to prevent West Noble from getting the red zone. They struggled to stop the run. They struggled to stop them, period. Let's just be very, very blunt about it. I'm sorry, Central Noble fans, but your team really struggled last year against West Noble. And for part of the season, it was a common issue last year. I'm still having questions on how they can stop this West Noble offense just because they are still capable of throwing and running the football. Maybe they don't throw the ball as well as they did last year, but it's still a good enough offense. I think they will do just fine with that West Noble team. I think the offensive line is, to me, the big reason why I feel very confident saying the West Noble is probably the favorite on paper against the Central Noble Cougars. I think the only way Central wins this game is if West Noble has a really bad start offensively. They just don't run the ball well. They too many offensive penalties. Turnovers become an issue. And usually in this series, the turnovers become the deciding factor between West Noble and Central Noble. And typically it favors West Noble in terms of the turnover ratio there. Central Noble better take care of the football. That's all I'm going to say about that. Central Noble, I just don't know how they're going to be able to generate enough defensive stops to garner offensive momentum. I think the fact that you have a younger group of offensive wideouts tells me there are questions on how this team is going to look that first game. Maybe it looks good by week 6 and 7, but week 1, you're still working a lot of different things right now. And as talented as Brody Morgan is, if the team isn't clicking, there have been times where the team has turned over the ball too many times. And that could be an issue. That West Noble could be the one team that either helps the team improve, or it could be the one game that could really just hurt their confidence. And right now, I think right now for Central Noble, you got to be optimistic about what they could do. But I do think that first game with West Noble is really going to tell us just how much of a learning it is right now for the offense for Central Noble, as well as the defense. As much as we like Jacob Chenoweth and how much we think Connor Fish can do and Damian Duncan can do and Brody Morgan can do the things he does at quarterback, at the end of the day, you have a big challenge ahead of you, and that's trying to stop that pistol offense at West Snowball and be able to compete for 4 quarters with them. That was an issue last year. We'll see. I have question marks on it, but we'll have to wait and see. Games are not decided by what Sam Fritz says on a podcast or what the newspaper says. It's about what you do on the field, and we'll find out just how much better Central Noble is than last year, and we'll see if West Noble can repeat some of their magic from last year. I believe their West Noble is going to be probably just as good as last year, but until we get to that point, we're still just kind of waiting and seeing what happens. But no matter what the outcome of the game is, we expect this to be a fun game for both teams and both fan bases. We know this is going to be a sellout. These two schools do sell out on a regular basis, no matter how good or bad their team is. They do tend to show up for these games. And typically on these type of games between these two schools, you're going to see a lot of fans, a lot of energetic, rowdy fans. It's only 18 minutes apart from each other. Like, it's a very close rivalry. It's been around for 50 years. So it should be a fun night no matter what. And I'm looking forward to at least previewing this game and seeing what could happen for these two teams. I'm here with the senior forward out of DeKalb High School, Imanol Hernandez, DeKalb boys soccer. Good evening, sir, and how are things going for you?
Everything's going good so far. How are you doing?
Doing great. Let's talk about this DeKalb boys soccer team. Last season, your team went 5-2 in conference play. I believe 10-5-1 overall. The previous season, before that, your team had won the conference outright. When you looked at this DeKalb team, what are things that stand out, and just how much motivation there is to get the conference back to DeKalb?
Well, I think last year we had a really young team, and I think this year we also have a young team, but they're more experienced. We had like 5 freshmen last year that started, and they've gained a lot of experience, and they're more hungry than ever to win that conference. And I feel
Mhm.
like us, the senior group this year, we've won it in the past, and we just giving them more motivation to keep working harder and to keep pushing to win that conference title this year.
Talk about your origins with the sport, Emmanuel, as you have a talent to scoring goals. But what does your journey with the sport look like?
So I started when I was 4. I started playing with my dad. He had like a little team on a Sunday league, and I've always watched YouTube videos of soccer players just doing crazy skills, and I just fell in love with the sport, and I've always played since. Every weekend, every day that I can, I always play as much as I can.
Mhm. Talk about your relationship with Coach Bennett and this program and how that program has been welcoming you into the Cal program.
Well, back in middle school, I always saw Mr. Bennett as a. Oh, sorry. Well,
Good.
we started in 6th grade, Mr. Bennett, we always had a good connection. I had him as an art teacher actually, so had a connection there. We just always had bonded really well and had a great connection, and we always see things the same at the end.
Mhm. What are the things that stand out about this team? Some characteristics with the team, and what can we expect about DeKalb in 2024?
You see a very talented team, a very hardworking team as well. Because without hard work, there's no talent. And this team, I feel like we can go really far this year. Not just conference in the sectional as well.
Mhm. And you mentioned the senior leadership of this team, that there's a lot of depth with this team and some athleticism with the Cal. There's athletes with the Cal as well, and you should be a team that can play some defense. And you open your season against Northrop, and Northrop won the SAC the last 3 seasons. You look at that matchup in particular. How important is it to get off to a good start and at least put a good performance against Northrop?
Well, we always see Northrop as one of our toughest opponents, and to have them as a first game, we always want to send a message to the whole state saying like who we are this year, and that we can play with teams like that. Last year it wasn't too well, but this year we're gonna start off strong, and we're gonna pull a result from them.
Mhm. And you also play Bishop Dwayne about a week later. You play some other SAC opponents as well. You got Heritage on your schedule. The NE8's difficult, Imanol, as you know, and Leo and Columbia City shared the conference last year. You came close with both matchups with those two teams. You got a difficult sectional as well. How much does that conference competition motivate your guys to continue to be at your best?
Well, we always see the results of other teams, and we always want to beat the best teams. And we always see that the like Columbia City is a great team. Leo was a great team last year too. They always get good results from teams in the SAC and in our section as well. And if we could pull good results from them, we'll have a closer step to the conference, and good results against other teams too will lead to a good run in sectionals.
Mhm. We'll be there for you. No, Eminol, in terms of the team itself, you mentioned there's talent with this team. Who's another guy that on this DeKalb team that we should make sure we have our eyes on this year?
Honestly, everyone, but the one that stands out to me the most is probably Elliot Neal. He's been working a lot, and he's always had the talent, and he's always been working hard. It's just sometimes he gets a little in his own head, but I've tried my best to keep him in the right mindset all season long, so he can have a great season. Because I believe he can have a great season.
Right, that's good. Another Eminol. When you look at the season itself, what's the most favorite? What's your favorite part about game day? You know, whether if it's in school or your game day preparation. What does that pregame routine look like for you?
Well, I always wake up excited and always have my uniform, like set up just to observe and watch and enjoy the moment. That's what I do. Try to do the most is enjoy the day because it doesn't last long because it's high school goes by quick. And I always just make sure to have a good smile on my face and make sure to enjoy the day. Make sure my teammates are happy and in the right mood. Make sure they're hydrated, drinking water, always in the right mindset, ready to play and stay healthy.
Any pregame music on your mind, or is it just you're just getting yourself motivated, you're ready to play soccer?
Honestly, I don't really listen to music like that. I'm always locking in my head, just always focus on what I could do best.
Hmm, interesting. Because I
Yeah.
always get a lot of players sometimes they usually have some type of playlist to get them ready for the match. So it's a very different approach that I don't see very
Mhm.
often, but very, very interesting. Imanol, how much do you want to make this senior year as memorable as possible? DeKalb has a history of soccer, as you know, a lot of success with this program, and DeKalb seems to be moving their way up in the contention of this program. How much do you want to make this year memorable?
As much as I can. I've been working hard all summer. I want to make this the best year that I've had and the best year that hopefully the school will have in a long run. So just want to leave a mark and leave memories.
Mhm. Yeah. What do you want to do beyond high school? Do you have any collegiate pursuits in mind for you?
Not really collegiate, more past that. Hopefully, but nothing's official yet.
All right. So I guess we should stay tuned then. Would be
Hopefully,
your response? All right.
stay
Okay.
tuned. Yeah.
Yep. All right. We will keep an eye on that. Final question from me, Eminol. You mentioned the talent. You mentioned how much your team's capable of. When you get things rolling for the season this week, what are some things that your coach is emphasizing to continue to improve?
As a team or individual?
Just in general.
In
So
general.
yeah, team would be yeah.
Um, I think for me, he's emphasized to be a leader, most importantly, because he sees me as one of the most smartest ones on the field, and he wants me to like lead all the young ones and all the other players to be their best, to be the best they can be, and to be the best team that we can be. So just
Right.
leadership.
Yep, I guess that's a good way to put it. Eminol, thank you for taking time talking about the Cal. Final thoughts before we let you go.
Thank you for having me, and stay tuned.
All right. That is Imanol Hernandez, the senior of the Cal Barons. He has 43 career goals for the Cal as he hopes to lead the Barons to another conference championship. They begin their season on Tuesday when they host the Fort Wayne Northrop Bruins. Imanol, thank you for taking time to talk about the team, and good luck on your season.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 5 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. Big thanks to Imanol Hernandez of DeKalb and Bailey Hartsough, the Lakeland grad and senior out of Western Carolina. Good luck to these two as they begin their seasons. Bailey is in her final year as a collegiate athlete at Western Carolina. Imanol in his senior year at DeKalb High School. Again, apologies in advance for all you West Snowball fans out there. Me and Monte were very excited about this show. Unfortunately, things just did not work out in terms of the technological aspects of things. But I know I will certainly be in touch with Monte in the future, and hopefully at some point this year, I'm able to bring at least somebody on the West Snowball football team to talk about this team. And again, if you're a West Snowball fan, you've got to be excited about what this team can do. I know this team definitely felt disappointed about the end of last year. They knew they had the team to win a sectional, and they just came up just short that night. That night against Knott's, they just didn't execute. That's just the truth. They were in portions of that game, they did outplay Knott's. They just couldn't find the end zone. And that's the reality of sports. You don't execute enough, sometimes things just don't go your way. And that's the tough part about the end of last season was that was such a good football team, and they still didn't win a sectional. But now we move forward to this year, and West Snowball has another opportunity to make history for this school. It's a program with a lot of success in the conference. Other than Eastside, nobody's won more conference championships in football than the West Snowball Chargers. And this program is well overdue for a sectional championship. But until we get there, there's still a lot that West Snowball has to get to for them to have an opportunity to play for a sectional championship. And that starts this Friday, hosting the Central Noble Cougars. And also, it'd be worthy to note that week 2, they're going to Wawasee. So this game is very important for West Snowball because of the fact that Wawasee is not going to be an easy team, especially with a new coach in Matt Thacker. And for those of you that know Matt from his days at Fairfield and even to the extent of his time at Warsaw, you know that his style is going to be difficult to prepare for with that wishbone offense that Matt has been known in the past at Fairfield. And Wawasee does have the athletes, and we saw last year even against West Snowball, Wawasee gave West Snowball a lot of trouble in the regular season. They actually beat South Bend Riley in the playoffs despite only winning, I think they only won one game last year entering the postseason, and they won that game against Riley. So Wawasee is capable of being a competitive team for the West Snowball Chargers. And when it comes to DeKalb, going back to soccer, DeKalb will be a team to watch this year on the soccer field. They have the talent, like Imanol said. Can they do enough to win a conference championship? Maybe even to win a sectional? That remains to be seen. You know, Leo's returns a lot back from last year. Columbia City, not quite as much, but they still return enough where I think you can say Columbia City is considered a contender still. The Northeast State historically has been a very good soccer conference. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how that conference race unfolds. And DeKalb opens their season in 2 very good games against Northrop at home, and then they got to play Bishop Dwayner. So they're going to be tested early to see where DeKalb's at in terms of their ability to not only have the talent on the field, but also be able to match it with their effort and desire, so to speak. And briefly talking about girls soccer real quick, Leo certainly going to be a favorite on the girls soccer field for the Leo Lions, but I think Belmont has to be up there still, even though they lost some really good players, including Carly Gilbert, who's now at Morehead State. They lost Taylor Lewis to graduation. She was their goalkeeper, but they returned a lot of really talented young ladies. Belmont is going to be a force. Columbia City, I think, is going to be right there in that conference race. I expect Norwell to be in this race. Norwell did lose some good players, including Mackenzie Feast. But they do have a nice defensive group back, even without Annabelle Johnson, who also graduated from that 2024 class. He still got some players in Norwell that I think can do the job well for the Knights. I think the question becomes, Can they do enough against Belmont and Leo? I think that remains to be seen in that situation. And I think East Noble is going to find a way to get in this race somehow, to get in the race, at least for a decent positioning in the conference. East Noble has the goalkeeper, the defense, and I think they got some grit to compete in this conference. I think it's just gain some bounces. And I think just limiting the mistakes and getting enough bounces to win some games, I think is going to be very important for East Noble to find success. But again, starting this week, every fall sport will be played. And from here on out, full speed ahead. And so that's going to do it for another episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast. Tune in next week for another exciting episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast. Until next time, this is Sam Frick saying so long. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner and you will find us there. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.